Good morning, everybody. My name is Monika Kantowicz-Gdańska, and I'm gonna talk to you today about power competencies. These ones that I really believe can help change business world, and I will tell you why. And I hope to inspire you to develop them, and also give you some tips of how to do that. And before we start, I would like to ask all of you to have something to write at hand, because what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna to invite you to self-reflect on soft competencies. So it would be great to write it down. And this will be a slow part of our meeting, just to prepare you for that. So at the certain moment of the webinar, we will slow down to self-reflect. Slow down means that there will be a few slides where we stop and I'm not talking. And in the meantime, you can write to me why you chose the subject. And I will introduce myself in a few words and also explain more what we are going to talk about today. So talking about me, I've been dealing with people development for 20 years now, developing leaders, experts, teams, because I work both in the individual and in the team context. So I work with teams who cooperate together daily, but I also encourage managers to design their goals and discover the potential in themselves to develop skills, especially soft skills, which I'm going to talk about today. You may want to know that I'm also an action learning coach. Action learning is the methodology of team problem solving. And I'm also talking about it because the basics of this methodology is asking questions. And I'm also going to talk about power questioning today. I believe the questions are very powerful at work and in life. And I'm gonna introduce you to different kind of questions you could use daily to improve your communication. I'm also the extended DISC certified consultant, and this also brings some context to what I'm going to talk about today, because extended DISC is about our styles of behavior, and it is about our diversity, and it will create some context for the subject I prepared for you today. I see you still joining. I'm so happy and I'm feeling so privileged that so many of you subscribed for the webinar today. These were more than 200 people. Already almost 140 joined, and hopefully more of you joining, because I'm starting to talk about what I really believe in. And I will also show you a piece of research that proves what I'm saying, but the topic that I prepared for you today is personally important to me. During the years, I became more and more convinced that the skills that I'm gonna talk about today are crucial in cooperating with other people, in communicating with other people, especially when it gets tough. You have the power to communicate, to open the dialogue, to inspire people. And what you need to do to be capable of doing that is to develop your power skills. And soon I'm going to tell you what these power skills are. And giving you a little bit of the context different than my personal experience in developing soft skills, I have just a piece of McKinsey research. It was done in 2018, but it says what kind of skills will be crucial and will be fastest developed until 2030. And as you can see on the right of the slide, and it will not be a surprise for you, the skills that will be developed fastest and most intensively will be technological skills. You can see the number of 55 there, which is the percentage of hours spent. It will grow up to 55% in terms of technological competencies. But the second news coming from this slide is that the second group of competencies which will be fastest and most intensively developed till 2030 will be social and emotional skills. And these are the skills that are going to support these technological skills so that we can manage changes, so that we can easily adapt to what is going on. And I've been observing this trend for years. The social and emotional skills were gaining importance and focus for the whole time I've been working, these 20 years. And I really believe that developing these skills is crucial in supporting this technological growth we are observing now. What I want to share with you, maybe sharing also that the only fear for me of today, fear or just discomfort, is that I cannot see you. So happy to see you on the chat only, but it must be enough for today, is that when it came to pandemic, it was a very stressful time for me. Because what I did with people face-to-face, training them, coaching them, I needed to move to the online space from 1 week to another. Yes, it was like the most stressful time of my life. And I asked myself the question whether it is possible to do what I'm doing in the virtual context. And this was this stressful factor for me. But it appeared it's possible. But the side comment for here is why I'm a little bit stressed about webinars is that the physical contact is limited, and it's okay, but I cannot see you. So I cannot see your reactions, your faces, your smiles, your question marks on your face. And this is limiting communication, which you need to know, because developing soft skills, power skills require contact. And it's great if it's also visible contact. Like I became convinced that it is possible to use soft skills in the virtual context, but you need to see one another. It's because our bodies are communicating a lot subconsciously, sometimes even more than our words. And therefore, I really kindly advise you to see one another, even if you work online. And I'm talking about it because I know that in some organizations, in some companies, seeing one another during meetings, online meetings, is not the best practice, or it's not always used. So give yourself a chance to use these skills even more when you see one another also online. And switching to the next slide and going back to the McKinsey research, you can see another shot, another graphics from this research. And down the slide, when you see the blue color, the more intensive the blue, the more focus on the skills which you can see there. So as you see, the greatest focus in these soft skills will be on leadership and managing others, which is not only about managers and executives, because you might be informal team leaders, project team leaders, or just feel like leading your team in some subjects. And also there is a skill of teaching and training others, and advanced communication and negotiation skills. But this is coming from the research, and just giving you a bright idea that the research confirms what I'm saying. And later on in this webinar, I'm gonna refer mostly to my experience with people working on developing them, and I will share with you some tips on how you can do it yourself. Because what I also like to underline is that my goal here today is for you to go out with something, an inspiration, an idea of how to do something. And please give me your feedback at the end, what you bring out of the webinar today. So let's start with what the power skills are themselves, just to define them. So if we talk about power skills, if I talk about power skills, it will refer to your emotional intelligence. And the emotional intelligence gives us the ability to understand, use, and manage the emotions of ourselves and others. And a few skills that I'm going to talk about today are just about it. So these are the skills that will enable you to better communicate, to overcome challenges, especially in relations with people, also to better manage your stress and to manage conflict. The last part is about intervening in the face of conflict or in difficult situation. Hopefully we cover that. And just to make a short stop here, if you could just, as I asked you at the beginning, write me why you chose this seminar, why you want to listen about power skills, before I go into the details. Are you there? You can also write to me where you are located today. I talked to you from Bielsko-Biała, where I've been living for 17 years. I'm a double mom. Oh, Kraków, next to me. Hello, Karolina. Gdańsk. Yeah, I studied in University of Gdańsk and Warsaw. I used to live in Warsaw, and I visited Poznań last week and love Gdynia. Have friends in Gdynia. Okay, so you are Piła. I've never been to Piła. To Wrocław many times, and I really like Wrocław. So best Greek things for the ones from there. Katowice next to me. Okay. Okay, you are there. Great. Great to know you are in contact as well. What I wanted to start with, before I go into the specific skills, which I call the power skills, many of you, they're great, is whether we are all same capable of developing these soft skills. And I'm going to refer here to the extended disk model, which is created in 2 axes. So extended disk model is about the styles of behaviors we represented work. And there are 4 styles of behaviors represented by 4 colors. You may know one of these 4 colors methodologies, perhaps. You can write me that as well. So this model says that we naturally represent certain styles of behavior, because it is very rarely only one style, one color. We usually are the mixes of 2 or 3 styles of behaviors out of these 4 you see on the slide. And not going into the details, because this is not the subject of today. These 4 styles of the behaviors in the model are created in the 2 axes. And the vertical axis is about the balance in between thinking and feeling. So up these graphics here, you've got thinking, This is about rational thinking. This is about numbers. This is about goals and facts. And down the vertical axis, you've got feeling. This is about emotions. This is about people. And this is about relations at work. So every one of us is somewhere on this axis with his or her balance in between rational thinking and goals and emotions and people. So if referring to this model, these ones who are more people-oriented, me personally, I'm 60% people-oriented, so 60% down this model, which gives me a slight more possibility to develop soft skills. However, and this is very optimistic about it, even if you feel like you are much more about the goals, the facts, and the numbers, you can still consciously develop the skills which are people skills, which are soft skills. I've been working with very goal, rational thinking oriented people, many of them, and all of them proved that if you consciously choose to open up to representing people orientation, emotions orientation, you can really do that. But it needs self-reflection, which we are going to do today, and it needs some conscious steps to do that. Let me give you a bright idea. I've once worked with a general manager who was like 95% task, goal, numbers oriented. And the first task he chose to develop people orientation was just visiting people, leaving his notebook at his office. It was like the task of meet people just for the reason of meeting them and talking to them and having small talks with them. What I find very often that the goal-oriented people don't really like small talks. They just may treat it as the waste of time. Luckily, you may make the small talk your goal and just go and talk to people, and getting to know them, listening to them is already a small task in developing soft skills. So summing up, referring to this model, maybe we possess different balances of rational thinking and emotional people orientation, but all of us can develop power skills, which I'm going to talk about in this webinar. So let's start with how you can do that. This is my general concept of development for everyone, for every skill. So this procedure I'm going to talk about now, procedure, this sounds strange for me. This is like a philosophy of your self-development, which starts with pausing. You know, I have an impression, and it's rising, that we are living in a crazy world. We are constantly running. My personal development motive for this year is slow flow, which is first slowing down, slowing to speed up. And if you want to self-develop, you need to pause, you need to stop. So this is the first important moment of your self-development. This is usually being on your own. I often pause or stop just walking myself in the woods or anywhere, and having the space in my mind for myself. This is the starting point for your development. And in this pause, in this stop, the task, the goal is to self-reflect. And self-reflecting is asking yourself important questions. What kind of question you ask depends on who you are, what your role is, what your life moment is, what your organizational and private context is. but you need to pause, stop, and ask yourself these questions. Any question is great that you ask to yourself. And I will ask you 3 questions today, just soon after I finish this slide. And I ask you to have something to write down your thoughts today, because scribing in the development process is absolutely important thing. So, because your emotions, your thoughts are running away quickly, it's important to catch them at this self-reflection moment. And the easiest and the most powerful way to do that is to write it down. And you do it for at least 2 reasons, this writing down. First of all, you catch. Then, if talking about emotions that come, because these who are more emotionals are more about emotions, and these who are more rational thinkers are more about, loads of thoughts that are coming. No matter you are writing down the thoughts or emotions, you are relieving them. And it is especially about emotions. And I will come back to it later, that when you write them down, they become relieved. So this is the first reason. And the second reason is that when you look at these thoughts and emotions later on, it may be a few hours, it may be a few days or a few weeks, it helps you look at it from different perspective. You are in a different moment of time, and when you look at what you wrote down earlier, it may bring new reflections, it may bring additional value to you. I'm doing scribing regularly, and it never stops astonishing me, surprising me. A few days ago, I looked through one of my notebooks. I have 5 or 6 different ones for different thoughts, and I was just so shocked of what I read, what I wrote a few weeks ago. It was like, I asked myself, what was that moment? What was it about? Why was I thinking this way, and what I think now? So just to give you a bright idea of why it's worth writing down, and just believe me. Then this is about the self-reflection, which is still quite subjective. It is crucial, it is the starting point, but you are talking to yourself and you are reflecting on yourself. If you want to extend your self-reflection, your self-awareness especially, you also may want to go out to people and ask for yourself. And these are not only people at work. You can ask your friends, you can ask your family, you can ask your children. I ask my boys, I have 2 boys, 12 and 16 years old. And I also go out for the feedback to them from time to time, especially in the mother's subject, of course, but not only. So the second way, and I advise you to choose both, the self-reflection and then going out to people and asking them about yourself to get additional perspectives of yourself, which will extend your self-awareness. Then, when you've asked yourself crucial questions, you wrote down your thoughts. Maybe you've searched for feedback as well. You may think of what I want for myself. What is my path? What is the area or the skill which I want to develop? And it's better to say want to develop that need or must develop to progress. Because the reflection is the starting point for your progress, for your development. And in order to do that, you need to plan that. And I'm talking about single things, small things, because also my experience is if you think too far and too wide, it's great to have a dream of who I want to become. But first, you need to take small steps to achieve that. So development is about these small steps you are taking in order to achieve the dream goal the dream vision of what you want to have, who you want to be. And I tend and like to call it development experiments, because to make it lighter for you, easier for you, well, the better you develop, the easier the task. So it is about small task and then another small step, and then you grow. Because we are motivated by achievements. So if you take small steps, you will achieve quicker and better, and you will be motivated to do more. Treat it as experiments. It's also great to make mistakes, because we learn a lot from mistakes. Just be brave and go out of your comfort zone, which is just like the general idea of development. If you are not going of the comfort zone, you are not developing, I'm afraid. So what is going out of the comfort zone? Usually when people develop, they hesitate, they fear. Yes, going out of the comfort zone is about fearing something and hesitating and not being sure if I manage, if I can do that. And anytime you feel this kind of discomfort, this will probably mean you are already developing. Yes, because this discomfort first rises in your heads, yeah, when you prepare, when you plan, and then you need to act on that. And if it is discomfortable for you, this means you are developing. And after you take these steps, after you make these experiments, developmental ones, it's a great time to stop again. Yes, you have your notes, you've wrote what you felt, what you thought at the beginning, then you took these steps, you made these experiments, and then you pause, you stop again, to just think of how was it, how do you feel with that? Is it the right path? Because what I need to say here also, that how I perceive development, it is not only about going forward, moving forward. It's also about taking the steps back, because you may find yourself not happy, not satisfied with the direction you took, and you can always take the steps back to once again self-reflect and choose a different path. Maybe this is the way back, not the way forward. So any kind of move you make. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna invite you to self-reflect. So have a piece of paper at hand and something to write. And how are we gonna do that? I didn't tell you, and I need to tell you now, that in my coaching work, I'm using visuals. Visuals usually mean, not always, but they mean photographs, photos, which I use to inspire people to self-reflect. And why am I using visuals? And we are going to use them now. There will be 3 slides with photos. Making it simple. On the neurobiological level, words activate rational thinking, the neurons which are responsible for rational thinking. And visuals, including photos, activate our emotional neurons, these groups of neurons, because now we are talking about groups of neurons which are responsible for that are activating emotions. Using visuals in simple, let us use more power of our brains, not only rational thinking, but also emotional neurons. And this is what we are going to do now. And I'm going to present you with 3 slides, one by one. And each of the slides will be accompanied with a question, or maybe the other way around. The question will be accompanied with a set of photographs. And the task is for you to answer the question to yourself, because this is self-reflection. So you are going to be open and honest with yourself, answering the question, but don't do this simple, because I could only ask you a question, but I'm offering you with the visuals to make your brain work more wider. So before you go into the rational answer, just look at the photographs I'm going to present to you and search for the clue, search for the tip. Just look at these photos and ask yourself what these photographs are telling me about the answer to this question. Just try it. Treat it as an experiment, as an experience. May sound difficult. Does it sound difficult? Anybody on the chat? Or simple? So there will be a question. A question will be accompanied by the set of photographs. And the task is not just simply answer the question, but look at the photographs and discover what they bring to the answer to the question. No, nope. I hope nope means that it's not difficult. Okay, so let's start with the first question, and this is the time when we slow down. So because self-reflection requires time, I will stop for a minute or so at each set of the photographs for you to look at them and to self-reflect using the question and photographs together. So the first question would be, what is my greatest soft skills? And this one of you who want to share, you can also share on the chat. Look at the photos and ask yourself, what is my greatest soft skill? What is my power in terms of building relations with people, communicating, cooperating? Great, Małgosia said, I'm a people person. Yeah, we feel that. The words we are using are reflecting that. You can feel very quickly that somebody is people-oriented or core-oriented. I wonder what diplomacy would mean exactly. Sounds interesting. Empathy, Natalia. We are going to talk about empathy today as well, shortly. Yeah, adaptability seems like being flexible and quick, fast learning. Yeah, there is a talent which is called learner. If you're a learner, you're never gonna stop learning. This may be about Alexandra. Okay. That's thinking it's a great, yeah. I'm using soft skills, but what I'm going to talk are in fact power skills, very powerful skills. Yeah, these words make the difference, in fact. And yeah, I can stick to power skills, which is more about what I'm talking about. Okay, let's switch to the second question and the second set of photographs. And the second question would be, what is my biggest, greatest limitation in terms of soft skills, let's say? Because it would be like a contradiction if we talk about the limitation in the power skills. So the question is, what will disturb me? What will limit me in terms of emotional intelligence, power skills? Take your time to inspire yourself with the photos. Yeah, Philip, bad temper seems like having some challenge with difficult emotions. Yeah, many of us experience that. And if Jan wrote empathy and it is the limitation, just give you some hope. I rather talk about rational empathy than empathy. Not every one of us have a power to be empathetic. I'm not very empathetic from my nature, but I've learned how to be empathetic, and this is powerful. Oh, if Natalia wrote anger for stupidity, this brings me an idea of a person who is very goal-oriented. It is like sometimes we get angry or nervous or frustrated where people are slow. And anytime you feel something like that, it should be an alarm sign for you to stop and self-reflect. What is it about? What does it tell me about myself? Because I didn't tell you about the horizontal axis of the extended disc model. Maybe it's time to do it now. We are intuitive, spontaneous, which means quick, or in Polish population, a greatest group of us is reflective, which means I need time to think, decide, to talk. And many people are these reflective people who are just slower, which doesn't mean worse or stupid. So this is probably about your intuition and being spontaneous and being quick. I'm 95% quick. I love my reflective attitude, which I develop, and I will do it to the end of my days. Okay, Kinga wrote, my problem is that I have such expectation of others as I have of myself, very high, but I'm working on it. Great. For some, the ceiling is the floor. Yeah, and referring back to the extended disc model, we just differ. We differ in speed of thinking and speaking. We differ in this goal or people orientation. And being aware of who I am, what skills I possess, is the starting point to understand and accept that other people possess other powers, different ones, and bringing it all together, if we are focused and if we are patient, can bring great value to the teamwork, to the results. Yeah, it's a growth, but there are some situations when you need to act fast before it's too late. Sounds like red, which is very fast. Yes, if we need to act fast, we act fast, but there are moments when we can stop and create the space for our people. And this is what I'm going to talk about in a second. But before we do that, we go to the second. The question one was about your greatest powers. The second question was about your limitation. And the third question is about what development step I want to take in developing power skills. So knowing what is great at you, which you should focus on, this is where your success lies. And being aware of your limitations, just to when they come to catch it, you can ask yourself what you would like to develop in terms of power skills, these people skills, emotional intelligence skills. And again, inspire yourself with the visuals. If Magda wrote patience, it brings me an idea of, yeah, if you feel like, this is the great example, if you feel like becoming impatient, you need to catch that at this moment. And you need to say stop to yourself and ask yourself the question, how can I make it differently? How can I approach it differently? And just give yourself a little bit of space of time, because in terms of patience, this is space of time to do that. And any moment in which you catch yourself being impatient and you can stop that, this is your development moment. This is your development experiment. This is where you develop. Yeah, because this is as simple as that you catch yourself on your limitation, and you have the power in this moment. If you self-reflect, if you ask yourself the question, for example, how can I do it differently at this moment? These are all your development moments that bring you to develop power skills. Okay, going further, because the time is passing so quickly. I'm going to tell you a few words. The word empathy was there on the both sides. So your power skill as well as your limitation. And I'm going to cover a little bit, because you have the different webinar on empathy itself. So I will just signalize it here. And referring back to the question, if any one of you can be empathetic equally, absolutely not, as I told you. The more empathetic people are down the extended disc model, these are these people, emotions, relations orientated people. And especially greens. Greens are the greatest listeners, and they are very patient and they are very naturally empathetic. So if you feel like you are green, you have this power. So you will probably need to develop different skills, especially speaking what you think and you would rather keep to yourself. But empathy is your strength. If you are yellow, I'm mostly yellow, and yellow is also people-oriented person, but it is a speaking person as well. So yellows tend to speak a lot and steal the space to communicate for others. So my challenge is here, and being empathetic will be not so easy for me because of the speaking. So my goal here is just to shut up sometimes and listen more to people. And if you are blue, which is an analytical thinker, critical analysts who really love to work on their own from time to time. So this is the challenge that you need to be with people to be empathetic. And the blues are not always to be with people. And they prefer to be with the systems, with the tools, with the numbers. And maybe, and this is like a little bit a joke here, that people are not numbers, and maybe it's sometimes worth to analyze people, not only information. So this is the challenge for the blue, to see the value in the people, the challenge in being empathetic. And then if we are red, I am quite reddish, and this means I am sometimes fast and very strong in speaking. So this is the challenge. If you are the one who is just moving the things forward, who is creating change, who is doing it fast, you may lose people behind. But the clue or the tip here for the ones who feel that they possess a lot of red is to make people focus your goal. If you both of the goal-oriented colors, blue and red, can make people the goal, and if you make people the goal, it will make it easier for you to switch on empathy And I would rather say here, this is the rational empathy, because the empathy, just empathy, is a talent, according to Gallup, to Clifton Strengths, not possessed by everybody, but rational empathy can be possessed and developed by everybody. But you just need to give it a try. Yeah? Just see the value in people, especially if we are talking about upper colors in the models of the blue and the red, which need more effort to develop this people focus, people orientation. Okay, so let's now switch to something which is called deep listening. And to talk about deep listening, I first need to remind you what active listening is. And because deep listening is something totally different than active listening, maybe not totally, it's still listening. But if we talk about active listening techniques, which you can use, they are okay. They are okay to be there, or I'm sorry to say that, sometimes pretend to be there, because deep listening is about listening and hearing. And active listening is just a technique to be in touch, to be in dialogue, which doesn't surely mean that we hear. So in terms of active listening, we have paraphrasing. So we repeat somebody's words just to let them know we are listening. We can ask questions for understanding. For example, did I understand you well that you were saying that? So this is like checking for understanding if we took somebody right. We have also a technique of summarizing. When you say, okay, so if I understood you well, you said that, that, and that. And the main points of this case are these, and these. So this is the frequent summarizing. You can also, and this is close to the rational empathy as well, you may try to reflect emotions. Like, it sounds you are nervous, it sounds you are happy, I can feel that you are irritated, or it seems like you are not satisfied with that. But this is active listening, and if we talk about deep listening, it is the very powerful thing, which is, in my opinion, very rarely used, both in organizations and in lives. Because deep listening is about listening and hearing. And what we often do at work is that we listen to people and we, at the very first point, we start to analyze, to filter what we listen to, and we just take for ourselves what we want to take through our filters, through our goals. And this is not hearing, because we just take what we want from what we hear. And this is like very normal, let's say, situation at work, in life. And deep hearing, deep listening is about taking all this of the story that someone is telling to us. It is about having what I say call a gentle ear for people, for employees, for teammates, for partners, for children, that you listen and you take it all. And to tell you how to do that, I need to share my first experience with deep listening. When I was set, just listen to the story, just follow the story and say nothing. And I was experiencing that with a partner, let's say. This was a supervision coaching session. And I was absolutely shocked with myself, because I found myself listening and asking questions to myself about what I'm hearing. And I said to myself, hello, what's going on? You are to listen and hear, and you are asking the question which you cannot speak to yourself. What's wrong with you? And this was like a switch. And I can switch now to the deep listening mode. just listen, just follow the story, just try to hear what the person thinks and feel, just be with that. Yes. So if you want to deep listen, which is a very powerful thing, you can treat it as exercise. You can try it with a friend, for example, today evening. This is about switching off analysis and judgment, which is very difficult for goal-oriented people, but you can give it a try. If you practice, you will be better and better. So it is to just listen and trying to switch off judgment, switch off analysis, switch off asking question to yourself, because you do not speak anything when you deep listen. You just listen. Anybody who would like to give a try to deep listening, or who have experience or any side the deep listening? Are you there? Has anybody deep listened? No, Jacek, no. Deep listening is a very empathetic thing. This is deep listening. It's a great question anyway. Deep listening is about practicing empathy. This is like if you switch off judgment, if you switch off analysis and try to just listen. And this listening is about also seeing what's going on with the body. This is very much about practicing empathy. Okay, Alexandra says we are listening. I asked if you ever experienced deep listening or being deep listened to, which is a great experience as well. I was working for charity with sick kids. Yes, this required deep listening for sure. Okay, thank you for confirming it's important. Just give it a try. Try to deep listen sometimes. Just this is, from the practical tip again. When you want to deep listen, you need to go into deep listening mode. So, for example, you meet a friend and you just challenge yourself and say to yourself, for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I will try just to deep listen. And this means you need to control yourself in mind, that you do not filter, that you do not analyze, that you do not ask the questions, nor to your friend, nor to yourself in your mind. Just listen, okay? Yeah. Those people, again, Carolina seems like very goal-oriented person. Yeah, it will be harder for goal-oriented people, but you can develop this power skill as well. And Rafał wrote, it's very hard not to judge. Absolutely, our brains are just programmed for judgment. But what is very powerful, and this is where there is hope that everybody for you can develop, that on the brain level, or the rational level, we can do anything. So if you tell yourself that you switch off judgment now, try 1 minute, 2 minutes, you can practice that. I was a very critical person 20 years ago. Naturally, I possess 40% of red, which makes me critical and very goal-oriented. For years, I've worked on that, on shutting up, on switching off judgment. I excluded a lot of the judgment from myself. What I invited to myself was recognition. So I needed to learn recognition to people, just to be able to support them. So even though it feels like very hard, it is possible to learn to switch off judgment. But you need to start with the first step, like the first person. It may be easier with a friend, with the first minute or two, with non-judging. And your mind, your brain is capable of doing that. Okay, going further, time's running. I want to go into the power questions now, because we've covered empathy, or rational empathy, which you can develop. You can develop listening skills, and I would rather see you deep listening than actively listening in the future. It will be great for you and for the ones with whom you speak. And the next power skill, I think for me, it is the most wonderful power skill is asking questions. And on the next slide, I want to show you what I really believe questions do, what they are capable of, what I love to say, and I said it many times, is that questions build bridges between people. They create the space for the dialogue. If they are properly asked, and I can just straight away tell you what means properly. Usually, to open the dialogue, so to create the space for others to speak, we talk about open-ended questions, which start with what, how, who, different kind of open questions. If you ask closed questions, it is more difficult to open the dialogue because there is less space for the other side to speak. But also, this is about questions which are non-judgmental, because what I also tend to say that you can kill somebody with a question. This is a killing question. So when I talk about powerful questioning, I talk about the questions where the intention is good, when we want to make progress with people, when we want to achieve something together, when we just want to talk, to discuss something, to exchange perspectives. So questions are capable of doing that. As I told you, they bring bridges in comparison to what I observe and call organizational communication ping pong. There is a lot of that in many organizations, that we exchange sentences, we exchange our points of view, and it is like a kind of a fight in many business cases and problem solving and so on. We just give opposite information or excluding information, which I call organizational ping pong. And unfortunately, in many cases, it leads to nothing. We just practice communication ping pong, exchanging our opinions, perspectives, just, fighting with them, and it brings us to nowhere. It brings us to nothing. This is why I chose the action learning methodology to help people solve the problems. The action learning methodology is about the questions. The ground rule of the action learning is that nothing can come in the discussion if this is not the answer to the question. Just giving you another proof of why they are so powerful. What questions do, and this is also the basics of the action learning, is that when we introduce many questions, it helps us stay focused on people, yes, because when we ask questions, we need to listen, maybe deep listen, yes. And we are more capable of solving problems. We are more capable of finding greatest solutions to anything, just because we have the wider perspective by introducing people to talk. And this is especially a tip for those who are very goal-oriented and those who are spontaneous in speaking, so quick in thinking, in speaking. And also, as you saw, I asked you the question when introducing you to self-reflect, and this is also the great power of questions, that they bring self-reflection to people. I have the philosophy of feedback, and I try to help people develop feedback skills, which are exchanging feedback to questions. The question can be feedback in itself, but this is not the topic for today. However, I will introduce you to different kind of questions soon, and this may bring you some ideas for using them to giving feedback as well. So, as I promised you, I want to take something away from today. you can take self-reflection. You can take this just process of how to build self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-develop. And now a few single steps that might help you to start use the questions more in your work and life. The first step is that you need to openly and honestly ask yourself where you are in your mind and heart, and what you want to achieve using these questions, communicating with a person or people you are going to communicate. And this is called an intention. Intentional language is very powerful, by the way. The intention is always said or written with I language. So it is about you, your thoughts, your feelings. And why am I emphasizing being open and honest to yourself? Because on the brain level or the mind level, we are capable of lying to ourselves. What is most frequent, what I observe, is that people get nervous, frustrated, irritated at work, and they pretend they don't. We lie to ourselves that we are not stressed, that we are not irritated, that we are not nervous. We can even experience strong anger at work. And we would rather not, we would better not, so we lie to ourselves that we don't. You can share with me if it happened to you to lie to yourself that you are not stressed or nervous or irritated by somebody's behavior. And I'm telling this here because this first step is crucial. You need to be honest with yourself why you are doing that, why you are communicating that, why you are opening this discussion, and what you want to achieve truly. Otherwise, you will be not credible in your communication. Because if we lie to ourselves, no matter what we do later on, no matter what great question we ask, our bodies will tell the truth. And you must have experienced that at work as well. That it seems like people are talking something else, but you feel like they are thinking something else. You can write to me so that I'm sure you are there. If you experience lying to yourself about difficult emotions and about this credibility, that maybe any of you experience that you hear something, but you feel like it's not the truth. And it is about the intention. So the first step is ask yourself why, because the intention is why I want to talk to you, why I want to discuss it with you. Then you need to design the questions thinking about who you are going to communicate with. So this is about, I call it the scenario method when working with people. We are thinking of certain situations, of certain people with whom my mentees, coaches are going to talk, and we design the discussion, we design the questions that are to be asked depending on what is the situation and what is the person. And you can inspire yourself with some great examples, great options. I will provide you with some in the time left. There are some great questions which you will surely like, which are very powerful. There are types of them, and I will provide you in this presentation with a bunch of examples of this question. You just can go into that and take your question and use it in your context. Then it's crucial to write it down, because if you don't write it down and the emotions come, you will just not follow what you designed, and this will be not the best result you want to achieve. The best result you can achieve if you follow the scenario. And it's okay if you have a notebook with you when it is an important talk, and if you lose your temper, if the emotions comes, you can always say, okay, let me remind myself what I planned for today, what I wanted to ask you. Yeah, It's okay to have this scenario with yourself. And then, of course, if you want to be sure how it went, it's a great idea to ask just at the end of the talk, how do you feel? What do you think? How do you find our discussion? Sometimes you could even ask for the evaluation, for example, with the scale question, but what the scale question is will be presented just in a few minutes. I really wanted to check if you are still with me. I haven't had any contact from you for 10 minutes now. So I wonder if you're there, or maybe I became boring to you. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, this is the webinar mode. So me talking, you listening, but I want to be sure you are there. So if you are there, I'm providing you with some great inspirations of questions. There are 6 types of what I call coaching questions, but we could call them power questions here, yes, not the coaching question. But the coaching style is about assisting somebody, supporting somebody in what they are doing. Coaching is much about, and this is what about circular questioning is about, changing the perspective or widening the perspective, bringing other perspectives to your mind. And these 6 type of questions, and I will not define them like, like the definition. I will just on the next slide show you some examples of these questions so that you can take them and use them no matter the name or the type of the questions. I'm sure you will feel them when I provide you with the examples, but let me tell you that there are 6 types. The first type is circular questioning, which is directly about changing the perspectives, the perspective or widening the perspective. Then we have scale questions. On the scale question, when we use scale to catch difficult topics. When you catch something in numbers, and this is for the also goal number-oriented people, it's easier to talk about it. And this is about scale questions. Then we have hypothetical questions, which are about making hypotheses about the future or the different scenario or the different possible plan. So this is about making hypotheses on something. Then we have the 4th type, which are miracle questions or magic questions, and they are about imagining things that seem that are not possible, like imagining dream becoming true. And I have an option here. I usually exchange miracle questions with something different, but I will tell you about. Then we have paradox questions. Paradox questions are the ones which are rarely used because these are the strong ones. These are these ones which can kill somebody if not properly asked. These are provocative questions, but they are useful in some situations, which I will tell you about. And then we have solution-focused questions, which are very precise and help people think about the right solutions. And starting with the circular questioning, these are all kind of questions that put people in somebody's shoes. Let me give you a few examples from the slide. How do you think your coworker feels in this situation? Imagine that somebody reacted wrong way and they are convinced that it was right. This is a type of the question you could ask. How do you think Ella was feeling in this situation when you said that? And this is about changing perspective to somebody else's perspective. Another example, what would your coworkers say if you represent this point of view? Imagine somebody is saying something difficult about the team in one-to-one context, just to give them an idea that it might be too tough. You might ask this question like, And what would people in the team say if you shared this with them? And this is putting the person in the teammate's perspective. So you have a bunch of examples here. All these questions are about widening the perspective, yeah, inviting people to change the perspective to somebody else's perspective. Then we have on the scale questions, which I really like. What I can tell you that it feels very uncomfortable to start to use them, and I share my client's perspective here because it seems like so unnatural to use the scale questions, like asking people to evaluate something on the scale. But believe me, you can give it a try. It simplifies the dialogue. It is a great starting point for any difficult subject. And I will give you a few examples, like the motivation is difficult subject. So you could ask somebody on the 1 to 10 scale, how motivated you feel today or in this period. The second question is nice as well. How would you rate the importance of the problem on the scale from 1 to 10? And imagine you are a manager. I don't know what roles you represent. Sorry, I didn't ask you. There was no time for that. But imagine that you are a manager of the person and the problem is absolutely crucial for you, like 9 or 10, but you feel like a person is not giving enough attention to a problem, is not focusing on it. And if you ask this question and this person say, yeah, the importance of this problem for me is 3. This is a great starting point to continue with, from my managerial perspective, this problem is a priority. For me, it's 10. So what can we do about that? Yeah. And this is the great starting point for the discussion. You have another examples on the slide, but you also need to know that the scale questions have a great option to follow up. The follow-up questions are referring to the result that we shared. And for example, if somebody evaluated themselves for 6, you can ask them, okay, so what exactly did you do to make it 6? Or if somebody says 6 and you expect more, you can ask the question, what would need to happen to make it from 6 to 8? And you see these numbers, this scale creates the space for the dialogue on difficult topics. You can give it a try, even if you feel like discomfortable with that. Yes, using scale questions at the beginning may feel discomfortable. Then we have hypothetical questions. These are one of my favorites. They help people imagine different scenarios, imagine the future in the different way, just help them wider the perspective. And some of the examples could be what would you need to do it faster, and this is giving somebody an idea that it can be done faster and that there are solutions to do it faster. Another question is how would you solve this problem if time is not an issue? And this is giving people idea that for a while they may forget about time criterion, and if they forget the time criterion for a while, they will probably come to some new solutions, yeah, which may be possible if the time criterion is again taken into consideration. How would you react if someone asks you for help in this case? Is helping people design the scenario of action, of behavior in a case. So this is about that, making people feel wider, further, going into the future, imagining the future. Another kind of questions which is about the future, the magical future, the miracle future, are magic questions. You could imagine anything. And if your brains imagine anything good, it becomes more capable of achieving the dream. So these questions are about imagining impossible. For example, what if this problem would disappear from one day to another, which makes the brain of the person with whom you are talking about imagining the situation that the problem does not exist. Yeah, another person asking about the recording. Yes, there will be a recording of the webinar, so it will be available for you. Going back to the miracle questions, I'm using it differently. So instead of miracle questions, I'm using the visions, the dreams, starting with, I have the vision that you achieved that, or I have the vision that you changed the role, or I have the vision that you overcome this problem. And then this is a very similar concept. And when I sell and tell this vision, this dream, I already see on the face if I'm there or not. So sometimes people are smiling when me sharing the dream or the vision of themselves, and I know I'm there. So I just need to follow up and ask, okay, so how can we make this dream come true? But sometimes I see the question mark on the face, or just, something which seems like hesitation or even doubting. And there I know this is not the vision, this is not the dream for the person, but this is the starting point for this person to create their dream, their vision. But anyway, it is always followed with the questions. So I said, I have the vision that, I have a dream that, what do you think about it? So there is always a chance for the person with whom you talk to refer to it. Then we have my non-favorite kind of questions, which are paradox questions. Why not favorite? From my nature, I'm more people than goal-oriented. This means I'm more, well, I tend to be tough sometimes, but more frequently I'm soft. So this kind of the questions are not soft. These are strong questions. Let me give you some examples. What more would you need to do in order to have a burnout? Does it sound strong? Or what needs to happen until your boss fire you? What more would you do for your boss to fire you? Or how could you go even less motivated to work? These are strong questions, but why would we want to use them? Sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we just face the wall and we cannot move in no direction. Yes, this may be about motivation, the burnout, I don't know, work problems, personal problems, different reasons that make us stuck, make us face the wall. And in these situations, I sometimes use these provocative questions, paradox questions, just to shake people, to help them move in any direction. Yes, it works. It requires a lot of energy. You can imagine yourself. Can anybody imagine themselves asking this kind of questions? They are strong. So use them carefully if needed, and it is needed if people get stuck. You need to just shock them with the question to make them realize that they can change the approach. And then we have the last category of questions, which are focus questions, and they are about helping people find the potential to do things. Usually, we've already gained knowledge and experience. We've already succeeded in something, but we may hesitate if we succeed again or if we can do something new. These questions are to redirect what we know, what we are capable of to the new situations. And it could sound like that. In which situations everything is working fine and you don't have these concerns or problems. Yes, so you are focusing attention to those moments where everything is working. And you ask what is different in this situation in comparison to the situation now. Yeah, and this is to make the link in between what people are already capable of and what they are afraid of, but they are capable to do. And you have two other examples here. I just need to make it fast now because I have one more thing to share with you. Yeah, Natalia wrote rather provocative questions. Yes, this. If you have a tendency to provocative questions, I would. This is a developmental tip. Forget about them and try to use these softer versions. Yeah, if of course going out to the out of the comfort zone and developing yourself. Yeah, some of us will have a tendency to provoke others as well. And if talking about provoking others, I have the last piece of info to you. You can write me now on the scale from 1 to 10 how satisfied you are so far with the content I prepared for you. Just as a quick check. On the scale from 1 to 10, how satisfied you are with what I've already prepared for you today. Oh, so nice. Thank you. Thank you. Great. 9, 10. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy. 7 is okay. So I would ask Asha, if given 7, what would need to happen to make it from 7 to 9 or 10? And this is a serious question. But anyway, it's great. Thank you. Okay, so we have last 5 minutes, and I want to introduce you to the scenario, the method of intervention when something gets wrong. These soft skills, power skills, are especially important when something gets wrong at work, in the team. And there is a scenario you could use, which is simple as a construct, but you need to pay attention to the details to make it work for you. And this scenario of intervening when something gets wrong, when there is a tough discussion in the team, when there is conflict in the team, when we are stuck with the problem in the team, it includes a few elements which you can use, but as I said, paying a great attention to details, which you will be not surprised with because we've already covered it today. So first of all, you need to ask yourself, when something gets wrong, what you see or hear. Just switch on the observer mode to realize the best you can what's going on. And you need to name it in your mind. It's also a great idea to write it down. Why? Because you need to neutrally share your observation in order to make this intervention work. So you need to share your observation in a non-judging way, the neutral way. And I will provide you with one example today. We could have the whole training on that. Then, after you've shared your observation, you need to ask the question referring, because this is just what you observe. This is just your impression of what's going on. For example, a green person dealing with the group of reds who are fighting would feel very uncomfortable. And this is very natural for them to fight. So this is just an example why it's worth to ask people about what you've observed. And this absolutely should be an open question. And then you could follow with the next question, which can change the situation, which can encourage people to communicate better or a different way, or just do something differently in order to overcome this difficult situation. And how to be non-judgmental. Just take it and use it. It just works. You can start with I can see, so what I see, I can hear, but the best option is the one that is underlined, which is I have an impression that, and this is neutral at the start because it is just about your impression, which you can compare to the impression of others. And then when you have three dots, just think of using non-judgmental words, which is not so simple, but you can practice that. And I will finish with one example, hopefully to inspire you. Absolutely, you can use it today if you face any difficult situation or conflict. And imagine that the team is having a difficult discussion. A tough discussion may be a kind of a conflict discussion, and your intervention could sound like that. And you could do it as a leader and as a teammate as well. I have an impression that we are talking louder and louder and starting to interrupt one another, as you see, as neutral as could be. Can you hear that as well? What's going on? This is the question, which is referring to the observation and inviting people to share their impressions. After it's done, you could ask, what can we do continue discussion in a calm manner? Or maybe both of these questions, how can we make sure that everyone is listened to? And the time is gone. And this was my last slide. I really enjoyed thinking of this speech today because I really believe in what I presented you, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you. Really, you can get something for yourself, a small thing to practice, to experiment from today, and just slow down to speed up on your development path. It would be love to see what you take out on the chat. And unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but you can always contact me if you have these questions or if you want more. I would be very happy to meet you one day face to face. Anybody would write what they take out, one word or one tip or one idea of the development step? Everybody saying thank you. I thank you also to all of you. Deep listening, great. I'm happy that it is what appeared now. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and maybe next webinars, which are planned later. Thank you very, very much. I was very happy to be with you.